welcome to my Fourboysandanlgirl podcast. My name is Patty. It's Thursday morning, February 3rd, and I'd like to welcome you here to have a little chat. Hopefully you'll have a chance to sit down, pick up your knitting, grab a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, and we can spend some time together for a few minutes. This is a podcast about knitting and crocheting and sewing and cross-stitching and quilting and rug hooking and about all the things that I like to do, and there is quite a few of them. So that's what this podcast is about. I try and keep my podcast around half an hour or less than half an hour, so it's not too long. And then that doesn't make me nervous that I've got to fill in or sit here and talk to myself for over an hour. So I keep it about half an hour. I'm coming to you from the most easterly province in Canada, the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. I live on the island of Newfoundland, very close to the most easterly point of Newfoundland and the very most easterly point of North America. And one of these days I'll go out to Cape Spear, which is the most easterly point, and take some pictures and show them on the podcast as well, so you can see the most easterly point in North America. That might be of interest to you. So welcome. I'd like to especially say welcome to anybody who's new and joining me for the first time. I really appreciate you checking me out. And for anybody who's a return customer, return viewer, I really appreciate you sitting down and spending some time with me. It means the world to me that people are interested in some of the things that I get up to, and I am so enthralled and interested and feel so, I guess, the warm and fuzzies for the wonderful knitting and crafting community that I have become a part of. It's just been wonderful. So this morning I don't have any finished objects to show you, but I do have a whip to show you, and this is a brand new work in progress that I had not started last week. You may remember that I was trying to pull things out of my work in progress basket and work on those. But I'm afraid that the siren call of some hand-dyed yarn from my basket, I don't know if you can see that, but from this basket back here was too loud. And I decided to cast on something new. It's another shawl. I do enjoy having a shawl on the needles at all times. This I'm wearing this morning, this is a Helen Stewart pattern, and I'll put on the screen because I can't remember if it's what the name of the shawl is. Anyway, I'll put it on the screen, but this was my first shawl that I ever knit, and I absolutely love how it turned out. I really enjoyed knitting it. I love Helen Stewart's patterns, and so since then I've tried to have a shawl on the needles at all times, and I hadn't, so I cast on a new one. This one is by Lettuce Knits, and I'll put Justina's full name and the pattern information on the screen for you. It's called Close to You, and it's just a gorgeous lacy kind of pattern. Here, I'll show you the shawl first. So hopefully you can see the camera's focusing on that. Now the yarn that I'm using is quite special as well. It's by Strand Designs. Again, I'll put the information on the screen. This is a 4-ply sock. It's 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, 425 meters on this in the skein. And the colorway is called Wild Atlantic. And I really love the way that the lace is forming down here, because it almost seems to me like frothy waves. It's like there's some movement in with the colors of this, so I'm really, really enjoying that. You can see I'm using one of my little row house stitch markers from Dawn's Creations. I'll put Dawn's information on the screen as well. I'm a big fan of Dawn's work and like to use her stitch markers and such whenever I can. So that is that. I've also got a little tiny progress keeper down here, and this is showing me, I'm not sure if that's going to show up or not. That's showing me which side on this shawl is the right side, because I'm having trouble telling my right from my left because it's a garter stitch shawl, so I have that problem. This yarn is even more special because a friend of mine that I've gotten to know through the podcast, C in Ireland, hi C, she had sent me this gorgeous, gorgeous yarn just because she enjoyed watching the podcast, which I really, really appreciate, and absolutely love the yarn. And I was desperate to cast it on, and it was, like I said, it was singing to me from the basket. And one of the patterns that C really enjoys is the Close to You shawl pattern. She's knit it 3 or 4 or 5, maybe even 5 times. And I thought, well, if she enjoyed knitting it that much, then I've got to cast it on. And I must say, I absolutely love the pattern. It's really fun. It's there's enough there's enough of some interest in the pattern, so it's not just garter stitch and it's not just doing lace. There's a mix of lace and garter stitch, and it really makes the pattern interesting, so it flows along really nicely. So I've been really enjoying that. The next work in progress that I am working on is another shawl, and I'm actually not going to show it to you today because it is Helen Stewart's Snow Melt Mystery Knit Along shawl. And I have started it. I'm about 10% of the way through. I can't show you the yarn that I've chosen. I'll put a little picture in here to show you the yarn that I've chosen. So you can see the yarn. I'll give you a better idea of what it looks like next week when I show you the shawl, because this is a mystery knit along and it's only been out since yesterday. I don't want to show it. It'll be a total spoiler if there's people out there who haven't started yet or haven't had a look at the pattern and then they see mine on the podcast. So I'm going to wait till next week, and my plan is to show it. So there will be a bit of a spoiler, I guess, every week, but I'll make sure that I post a little warning sign in the podcast so you can fast forward through it if you don't want to see that part. Anyway, so it's the Helen Stewart Snow Melt Knit Along. It's on Ravelry if you're interested. It is a paid pattern. It's not that much though. I think it's 4 or 5 British pounds. And I've never done a mystery knit along before, and this is something that I want to try in 2017. I want to try and broaden my knitting horizons a bit. I still consider myself a fairly beginner knitter, and I'm just trying to do things that are making me a bit uncomfortable that I'm not quite sure about, and certainly doing a mystery knit along was one of them. I'm thrilled that Helen had some information on her website about how to do the cast on is an I-cord cast on, which I've never done before, so she already had a video on her blog about how to do that. So it was a great start to this shawl. And so far, like I said, I'm a beginner and I'm really enjoying the knit. I'm finding it fairly relaxing. It is something I find with Helen. Helen writes the most beautiful patterns. They're done in a percentage style, so it's a list and it tells you in every line how many stitches you should have, and then after so many lines it tells you what percentage that you have finished in your pattern, which really encourages me to keep knitting. It's really an addictive, the way that she writes makes it really addictive for me to just keep going and keep going. So I find that I tried to knit the shawl last night when I was watching television, and unless I'm watching a rerun or something that I've seen a million times, I can't really knit in front of. I need to pay more attention to her pattern than just, I guess, more easy knitting, or more knitting where it's not changing every line. The pattern's not different every second or third row. So, but despite that, like I said, I'm really, really enjoying this knit. The colors I picked out are a mix of a yarn from, I have 2 from, I'll put on the screen, I can't remember if it's Ancient Arts yarn, so I'll put that information on the screen, and I will again next week when I actually show you the yarn. But the main yarn that I'm using for it is SS's Crit Yum. SS is an indie dyer under the Crit Yum. Handmade is her title for her Etsy shop, and I'll put that information on the screen. She had kindly sent me one of her yarn packages, which has a knitting bag, a knitting project bag, a notions bag, stitch markers, a DPN holder, and a beautiful skein of her Rosanna sock based yarn in the colorway Birds and Butterflies, and it is just gorgeous, and that's the main color I'm using for Helen's shawl. It is absolutely stunning. I can't speak highly enough about SS as an indie dyer. She does a fantastic job. Her colors are just so vibrant, and I absolutely love them. And the quality of the yarn itself is just gorgeous as well. So I can't speak highly enough about that. So hi SS, I've really enjoyed working with your yarn, and I plan on getting lots more. So that's the information about the Snow Melt shawl. So like I said, next week I'll show you some of my progress, and I'm hoping not to get too far behind, but this week I do have some knitting time, so I should be able to get caught up and be ready for when the next clue comes out next Thursday, and then I will go from there. It's because I think it's released over 5 weeks, so it should be 20% of the pattern each time, but obviously it's a shawl and it's knit from the top down, so it's just going to get wider and wider, which means each row is going to take longer and longer. So by week 3, I would imagine it's going to take me much, much longer to get my knitting completed on that shawl than it will this week, for example. And I have had a look at the chatter thread on Helen Stewart's Curious Handmade thread in Ravelry, and there's a spoiler thread there, which is fine for me because I've started knitting, so I'm looking at everybody's progress, and it's amazing the color choices and color combinations that people have come up with. They're absolutely stunning. I have been continuing to work on my new cross-stitch kit that I'm hoping to have the pattern out at the end of the month. I'm actually hoping to open my Etsy shop at the end of the month, even though I won't have 10 items, as Etsy recommends that you have about 10 items in your shop before you open. However, I notice that a lot of Etsy shops that I order from, yarn from Indie Dyers, for example, often have nothing in the shop and then they do an update. And then there are things in the shop and then there's nothing in the shop for a while as things sell out and then they do another update. So my hope is with my cross-stitch designs is that I'm going to be just putting in a new design every month or two. And so I'm thinking I'm probably going to open the shop sooner rather than later. But I do want to get this particular pattern completed, pictures taken, the pattern ready for hopefully the end of the month or beginning of March. So that's my goal right now for my cross-stitch kits and my cross-stitch design business. Speaking of cross-stitching, I've had the opportunity, a really fun opportunity, to get in contact with Paula, who is the designer behind Kelmscott Designs, and she does some beautiful needlework products, scissors, needle minders, and thread holders, to name a few. And I got in contact with her because there's not a local shop to me that sells them. So I made an order, and you can order through needlegoods.com. I'll put some information on the screen again. So I wanted to show you some of the things that I had gotten from needlegoods.com, or from Paula through needlegoods.com, to show you some of the gorgeous things that she's designing. She's a Canadian designer, which thrills me no end, because I love supporting Canadian businesses as well. So I want you to have a look. So first off, there's this needle minder. Now I'm hoping I'm going to be able to get the camera to focus on each of these. So it's a gorgeous sheet needle minder. I've been using this one in my cross stitch regularly with my cross stitch, my new pattern. The other needle minder that I had gotten from her, or through Needle Goods, is this heart-shaped one. I'm hoping if I take that out of the bag, just in case. So there's this beautiful heart-shaped one. Next, I wanted to show you, I'm going to keep these in the bag, and I hope that the camera's able to focus. So there's a sheet thread holder. Put that in front of my face, so hopefully it'll focus on that. Isn't that beautiful? So that's for holding your threads when you're cross-stitching or doing needlework. And the other one that I got was this as part of her vintage postcard series, and this one's called the Love Roses Thread Keep. And I'll put all that information on the screen as well. The other things that I had ordered, I love her scissors. Absolutely love them. So I'll take these out as well. This is her Tudor Rose scissors, and they're just stunningly beautiful embroidery scissors. Really pretty. So I'm going to, so that's those scissors, the Tudor Rose scissors. Aren't those beautiful? These are her owl scissors, and they're done in a primitive finish, so you need to very gently take a cloth and carefully remove any of the black that's coming off them before you use them. So those are just gorgeous. Primitive owl design. And then I ordered 2 more, and each of these are going to be going in with the Crafty Make-Along Cal prizes, which I'm going to tell you about in a few minutes. Drawing the prize winners, and so this is the Mon Petit Eiffel scissors. So you can see they're really small, but no problem for me to get my fingers in there. These would be absolutely perfect for to put in your notions bag. And then the other one is the same, but it's in the black finish, the primitive black finish. So I was really excited. Paula, thank you so much for working with me on this. This has been wonderful. I hope that lots of people order more of these because they're gorgeous. I had ordered enough for myself and to use for prizes for my podcast. So that, like I said, that one of these pairs of scissors is going to be going in with the Crafty Winter Make-Along prizes. And speaking of the Crafty Winter Make-Along, we're finished. It finished on the 31st of January. I think I closed the thread on the beginning of, early in the morning on the 1st of February. So I guess you did have some extra time to put in. I think there's over 236 entries, which was absolutely fantastic. It blew me away how many people were interested in this make-along and how many people were involved in putting in 6 and 7 and 8 different entries because of all the things that they had made. Not only made, but finished, which is always amazing to me because I start a lot of things, but getting them finished I'm not as strong at. So I want to show you some of the things that are going to be going in the prizes before I announce the winners for, on my Ravelry thread, the winners for the Crafty Winter Make-Along. And then Sandy over at the By the Lakeside podcast. Hi, Sandy. Oh, Sandy, I've really enjoyed working with you on this, with this challenge or this make-along. It's been really fun co-hosting a make-along with somebody. It's my first one, my first make-along, knit-along, sew-along, anything along. So it was really nice to be able to work with Sandy and do this together. So thank you so much, Sandy. I've really enjoyed it. As I had mentioned in the previous week, Sandy has her own Ravelry thread for the Crafty Winter Make-Along, and you could have gone there and also signed up and submitted your projects for a chance to win prizes. So make sure you check out Sandy's podcast and her Ravelry thread to find out if you're a winner or not. So I wanted to show you the prizes again. So I just showed you the scissors that are going to go in the prize package. Then there's a skein of yarn each. This one's a Julie Asselin yarn. It's on her Piccolo base and it's called Voilier. So it's a gorgeous kind of crisp winter blue there. The other one is by Fleece Artist. It's Fleece Artist Cottage Socks, and the Beach House is the name of this colorway. Greens, blues, there's some grays here. Grays there on the back as well. I really hope the camera's focusing. The other thing that I'm adding to these prizes is that Barbara over at Knitting I Love. Hi Barbara, how are you doing? I had ordered some things from Barbara a while back, and she knew I had a podcast, so she was kind enough to include a couple of extra things in my package to give out on my podcast for prizes. So I'm also including one each of these. These are coasters, and hopefully you can see them through the cellophane here. Just a second. See if I can figure out how to open the bag so it's not too shiny. So these are one of Barbara's. They're coasters, but they're also needle sizers. So I think this is great. I must say I use it more as a needle to figure out my needle sizes than as a coaster, but it is kind of a felt material, so it's perfect for a coaster. It also comes with stitch markers / progress markers, and one of Barbara's little holders for keeping your progress keepers in, which I think are just stunning, and it's really cute. There's there's a strawberry and a flower ball and a flower. Hopefully the camera's focusing on that. If not, I will have pictures to show what the prizes are for the winter make-along. So next we're going to announce the winners. Hi again. I had to go downstairs and draw the winners on my computer on the random number generator for the prizes for the Crafty Winter Make-Along. So I'm really thrilled to announce the 2 winners. The first one was number 147, and it was so we had 200. I drew from between the numbers 2 and 237. So there was a lot of wonderful submissions for this make-along, and it's for Nenatan C, who is Rebecca, for her citrus hat number 2. And hi Rebecca, thanks so much for joining the make-along. Rebecca is in the States, so what you need to do next is send me a private message. Send me one either on Instagram or on Ravelry, and I can get your package out to you. And the second winner is a Canadian, and it's number 153, H. Flamen, who is Heather, And she won for her submission was a gorgeous After the Rain shawl. And Heather is in Alberta, so a Canadian, so it's wonderful. One person from the United States, one person from Canada. So it's wonderful that I'm able to spread the love to a couple of different places in the world. I really hope you enjoyed the make-along as much as I did. I am going to be hosting another contest in February, March. I just need to get my ducks in a row and decide what the contest is going to be for and how I'm going to do it, because I still do have prizes to give away from the wonderfully generous SS from Critium Handmade. And I still have another package from Barbara and Knitting I Love to give away. And I keep collecting things for prizes, so now I have more things from needlegoods.com, from Paula at Kelmscott Designs, so I really do have a bunch of things that I am collecting to be giving away for more prizes, so I'm thrilled about that. And I really love so much having you come and visit with me every week that I want to show my appreciation by giving out prizes every now and then, because I get as excited about giving out prizes as I do about receiving them. So that's it for me today. A little bit of a longer podcast than usual, I think. Certainly longer than last week. I don't even think I broke the 20-minute mark last week. This week I'm just going to show some footage around close to our house near on the East Coast Trail that I took when a couple of my boys and I went for a hike last weekend. So hopefully you enjoy that. And I really hope that this week you get a chance to sit down and make something that makes your heart happy. Take care. Bye-bye.